Nermin Sayba ili, who was born in 1974, is a Turkish lecturer, author, art historian. Received her doctorate in Visual Culture Department from Goldsmiths College, University of London. Her fields of research focus on the problems of visibility and invisibility in the regime of vision, the use of sound in installation and video works, mobility and counter-geographies, urban space, and migration in network culture. Her articles have been published nationally and internationally in journals, books, catalogs, and magazines. In the last chapter, author analyzes the film called Waiting for Happiness. Film was made in 2002. Directed by Abdurrahmani Sissako, the film follows inhabitants of a small and isolated seaside town. The story is about Abdullah. Before he moves to immigrate to the West, he travels to the coastal city of Nouadhibou, Mauritania, to visit his mother. Although he grew up there, Abdullah feels anything but at home in his old neighborhood. He can no longer speak the local dialect, and he wears Western clothes that immediately cast him as an outsider. As Abdullah spends time with a young boy and an elderly electrician, he can't help but feel a sense of loss for the life he's abandoning. In the film, they amplify the feeling of isolation and loneliness. As the city of Nouadhibou is a transit city, built with temporary housing, the people who live in the city have been stuck on a geographical edge of the world. As a shadowy reminder of the world beyond, the resting vessels at sea imply the condition of people in departure, who, to a certain extent, have already left without actually having yet moved. 17-year-old Abdullah returns from Mali to his homeland on the West African coast, to Nouadhibou, the transit city, before leaving for Europe. He feels as an outsider, and that makes him longing for moving forward, longing for the Western world. In the movie, the bulb of light is a metaphor of hope for the inhabitants. The first introduction with this bulb of light is when Abdullah is in his childhood home with his mother. He is in a depressing state. His mother hopes that he will get better when they finally have electricity. In this scene, you meet an old electrician, Marta, and a young orphan, Katra. They try to connect the house to the electricity. Meanwhile, Abdallah's mother is talking to an officer at the doorsteps of their house trying to secure her son's passport. Marta and Katra struggle to futile. The light bulb is not lit. When the young orphan, Katra, is sent by Marta to let the light bulb be checked, it works perfectly. So it isn't working in Abdallah's house. He feels no hope. Throughout this essay, we recognized light as one of the key elements in the story. It is used in many ways and seen as your friend and your enemy. In the film, the light bulb is a sign of hope, a sign of spiritual traveling to a better place. Light is a way to visualize the immigrants. It is a way to impersonalize an image into a lit-up, empty shape. Light is what makes the visible invisible. We see it as a positive future in another world, while realistically that light-up future is the grainy image of Paris from the movie. The immigrants who travel in shadow through their fantasy world. Utopia, that never existed. In the concluding chapter, Sayba ili observes the issues that arise to the immigrants by comparing their situation to the situation of ghosts, as if the immigrants, same as ghosts, are stuck in between two worlds, forever stuck in time. Between past and present, waiting for the future yet to emerge. People who decide to migrate have a dream of a better, perhaps of even a perfect world. The one that they see on TV or in magazines, even though they have never been there yet. Their expectations began long before the journey itself. The notion of ghosts arises in many different situations in the text. The illegal immigrants become acting as ghosts at the very beginning of their dangerous moving journeys. To get to the place they want, they need to be invisible. They need to become invisible to the eye of the officials. To reach the destination, when, or if the person finally reaches the dream destination, he continues his journey as if he would be a ghost. Unwelcome, unrecognized, unseen, the identity is lost or hidden deep in the suitcase together with the identification documents. Hauntology by Jacques Derrida. Dead futures that haunt the present. Mark Fisher wrote in the Film Quarterly Journal in 2012, "The future is always experienced as a haunting, a virtuality that already impinges on the present, conditioning expectations and motivating cultural production." Hauntology talks about something that is not either dead, nor alive, neither present nor absent. Visibility is a complex system of permission and prohibition, of presence and absence. The X-ray image reveals that even technologies of hypervisibility cannot save us from visible invisibilities. The highest level of visibility can actually be a type of invisibility. By pressuring to see everything, we see nothing than a light-up shape in a containing space. The image contains no personal features. Nothing than an empty shape, and exactly what the border officials are searching for: ghostly immigrant. What started the conversation about the thankless journey of migrants was the series of digital analog X-ray works by a multidisciplinary artist, Nolly Mason. The goal of these art pieces was to shed light, literally, on the dehumanization of immigrants all over the world. The artist herself stated that the reason for using the X-ray technique to address this topic is to convey the feeling of fragility. Apart from making these images resemble an architectural blueprint, she also feminized the images and the figures within them, to bring the viewer familiarity, while simultaneously exuding feelings of empathy and nurturing. The reason for this feminization was because we usually associate immigrants with scary men. There was also an exhibition 2 years prior to this one, by another artist, who took pictures that were actually taken by the Border Patrol, but his work, again, touched upon the main theme of dehumanization and depersonalization. Kovačević's artwork raises questions around issues associated with human trafficking, where people become little more than a commodity exploited for profit. Absolutely massive, frightening. These types of words are used to refer to the smuggling of Turkish people. Migrants are not only victims of the places they arrive to, they are victims of smugglers, who get them to a new country under false promises and inhumane conditions that last for months. We usually go to the doctor to get X-rays to see if something is wrong with us. I think that the X-ray method conveys the same message about illegal immigration. These people are things that should not be here and should be removed. European borders, the crossing lines for immigrants, ghosts, have complex surveillance systems to keep the ghosts out. The borders have floodlights, officially used against illegal crossing of immigrants, ghost. Borders are electronically equipped and under surveillance through heat, infrared, radar and satellite technology. The desire to make everything visible is also an imperative to make things legible and governable. Pressure of wanted control on governmental level. By capturing this with these technologies, you end up with ghost-like images. The images are in X-ray so that everything is visible, but the results are see-through beings cramped in a small space. No way to identify them as a person, so they look ghostly. You cannot see the textures, faces, anything that identifies these illegal aliens as human beings, rather they are a foreign and unknown object that are found as a flaw within the X-ray. These modern surveillance systems are based on the British philosopher, Jeremy Bentham's panopticon as the perfect prison, which he invented in 1786. Each person in this prison is alone in his or her own cage. They are completely isolated and constantly visible under full lighting. The panoptic mechanism makes it possible to see constantly and to recognize immediately. Each individual prisoner is seen, but does not see themselves. The individual is the object of information, but never a subject of communication. Visibility is a trap. Today the panopticon serves as a symbol of authority in the Western world. In addition to not being able to see themselves, the prisoners cannot see the authority watching them either. As the guards sit in the center tower, with enough light being exuded to cover up the small windows from which they view the prisoners, this gives the sense of constantly being watched and knowing of the authority surveilling you, but never being able to see from where.